When I bought my new home, I thought I was stepping into peace. It was the perfect place. Suburban. Fenced-in backyard. Safe streets. Trees everywhere. And best of all, no HO. That was a deal breaker for me. I'd dealt with those clipboard tyrants in the past, and I swore I'd never put myself or my dog through that again. Speaking of my dog, let me introduce you to Diesel. Diesel is a 100-pound German Shepherd, loyal to the bone, incredibly well-trained, and probably smarter than most people I've met. I adopted him after my time in the military, and he's been my best friend, my shadow, and my security system all in one. So, naturally, when I was picking a home, I wanted a yard where Diesel could run free, stretch his legs, and enjoy some well-deserved off-leash time. That's exactly what I got. At least, that's what I thought. On day one of moving in, I met my next-door neighbor. I was hauling boxes into the garage when I heard it, that high-pitched voice that's somehow both nasal and aggressive. "Excuse me." "Hello." I turned to see her, mid-50s, tight perm, sunglasses perched way too high on her head, arms crossed like she was posing for a portrait titled Judgment Incarnate. She introduced herself as Karen, and no, I'm not being mean. That was her actual name. It just also happened to be extremely fitting. "You're the new owner?" "Just closed 2 weeks ago." "And that dog, is he safe?" I looked down at Diesel, who was sitting calmly at my feet like the good boy he is. "He's trained. Licensed. Doesn't leave the yard." "Why?" "I just have concerns. Some of us have small dogs. And children." I smiled politely and went back to moving boxes. That should have been the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. Over the next few days, I noticed Karen peeking through her curtains. Diesel would be outside chewing on a rope toy or lying under a tree, and she'd just be watching. Always watching. Then came the first note, folded and placed under my welcome mat. "Please keep your dog quiet. This is a peaceful neighborhood." Diesel had barked maybe twice. Once when a squirrel got too brave, and once when Karen herself approached the fence with what looked like a spray bottle. A spray bottle. Apparently, her idea of training my dog was to lean over my fence and squirt water at him whenever he stood too close. I confronted her about it. I was just discouraging him from aggressive posturing. "Ma'am," he was sniffing dandelions. At this point, I knew I needed to start documenting things. I installed 2 discrete cameras, one facing the gate, the other covering the side yard where Karen always seemed to hover. Not long after that, I caught her walking slowly along the back fence with a measuring tape. Who walks around someone else's property measuring things? That same day, I got another note. This time, typed and anonymous, though it was obviously her. Per community expectations, dogs should not be visible from the street. Visible? Not barking. Not attacking. Just visible. Diesel's run is in the backyard, fully fenced. The only way to see him is if you deliberately walk to the corner of her property and peek through the slats in the fence, which she clearly was doing. I brushed it off. But Diesel didn't. One afternoon, I came home from work and found Diesel sitting in the front yard. Not running wild. Not barking. Just sitting by the front porch, like he was waiting for me. My stomach dropped. The backyard gate was wide open. Now Diesel never opens gates. He doesn't even try. Which meant someone else had opened it. And that's when I saw it, a woman's slip-on shoe lying in the grass. Near the center of the yard. Definitely not mine. Diesel padded over to it and gave a little wag of his tail like, "Hey, look what I found." I took the shoe inside and pulled up the footage. What I saw made my blood boil. The footage showed Karen entering my yard through the back gate, uninvited. She was wearing gloves and carrying a leash. She called to Diesel sweetly at first, probably thinking she could walk him out of the yard and rehome him or report him loose. Instead, Diesel barked once, trotted over, and stood directly between her and the gate. Not aggressive, just alert and commanding. Karen panicked. She backed up, tripped over a rock, and lost her shoe. Then, instead of calmly leaving, she tried to climb up on my patio table and dialed someone, probably 911. But I was home just a few minutes later, and by then, she'd scrambled out barefoot and disappeared back into her house like nothing had happened. But something had happened. She crossed the line. Literally. And now I had her on camera. She thought I wouldn't notice. But I saw the shoe. I saw the footage. And Diesel? He saw her for what she really was. Next time, she wouldn't be so lucky. So there I was, standing in my living room, holding Karen's abandoned shoe in one hand and watching her on my security footage in the other. I rewound the clip at least 5 times, just to make sure I wasn't seeing things. It was her. Karen, gloves on, leash in hand, stepping boldly through my gate like she had every right to be there. She had opened the latch herself. She had entered without permission. And she had tried to steal my dog. The video showed everything. She whistled softly, pretending to coax Diesel. She even had treats in her pocket, which she threw on the ground. Diesel didn't take them. Instead, he trotted over and did what he was trained to do, positioned himself between her and the gate, tail low, ears up, eyes locked. He barked once, deep and serious, like he was saying, "Leave now, lady." Karen didn't leave. She panicked, backed up, tripped on one of my stepping stones. Her shoe came flying off. Diesel didn't chase her. He just stayed right where he was, watching her every move. He even sat down while she climbed up onto my patio table in a frenzy, flailing her phone and yelling into it. You'd think she was being mauled from the sounds she was making. She called 911. I didn't hear the call live, but I later found out from the responding officer that she told the dispatcher, "There's a dangerous animal loose in someone's yard. I tried to help, but now I'm trapped." She never said she went in on purpose. Never mentioned that she opened the gate herself or that she brought a leash. So when 2 police cruisers showed up at my house about 15 minutes later, lights flashing, no sirens, I wasn't surprised. But I was ready. Diesel was inside by the time they arrived, lounging on the rug and chewing a bone like he hadn't just performed a flawless citizen's arrest. I stepped out to meet the officers and handed them the shoe. "I think this belongs to the woman who trespassed into my yard." One officer raised an eyebrow. "You have footage?" "Of course I do." They asked me to step inside and show them. While I queued up the video on my TV, Karen stepped outside her house, now in slippers, and started yelling from across the lawn. "That man owns a dangerous dog. He tried to sick it on me. I was only trying to protect the neighborhood." The officer calmly held up a hand and walked over to talk to her while his partner reviewed the footage with me. I played it all, from the gate opening to the moment Karen climbed the table, clearly panicked by the dog she provoked. The officer let out a low whistle and said, "This is clear as day." They spoke with Karen for about 15 minutes. I stayed back and listened. She got louder, more defensive. She tried to twist the story, claiming I had trained my dog to intimidate people and that I was negligent for not keeping him inside. But the facts didn't lie. She was cited for criminal trespassing, the attempted theft of a domestic animal, filing a false police report, and she wasn't happy about it. One of them turned to me and said, "Sir, your dog handled this better than most people would. Keep the footage backed up in case she tries anything else." Karen stood in her driveway, arms crossed, red-faced, muttering under her breath. Now here's where it goes from crazy to unhinged. The very next day, I walked outside to find flyers taped to mailboxes up and down the block. They were printed on pink paper, bold text across the top. "Warning, aggressive dog in neighborhood." Below was a blurry screenshot of Diesel mid-bark and a long rant accusing me of harboring a militarized animal trained to intimidate residents. She even included a list of exaggerated incidents, all lies, and a petition to form a neighborhood safety committee. Keep in mind, this woman was not on the HOA board. This neighborhood didn't even have an HOA anymore. But that didn't stop her. So I did what any sane person would do. I responded with facts, with my own flyers. Simple, professional, and to the point. I included a link to the security footage hosted, a copy of Diesel's license, temperament test certification, and vet record, a breakdown of the trespassing charges. And a statement, "I stand by my dog. He protected his home from someone who had no business being there." I left them in a mailbox and posted a digital version to the neighborhood Facebook group. Within 48 hours, the tide turned. One neighbor messaged me saying, "Karen's harassed us for years. Good on you." Another wrote, "I've got a pit ex. She's called animal control on me 3 times. Thank you for standing up to her." The best part? Someone else posted a comment with a screenshot of the original flyer Karen made, and below it, they added a meme, a German shepherd wearing sunglasses with the caption, Neighborhood security. Diesel division. Went viral. In our zip code, Karen thought she could silence me with flyers. She thought the cops would sign. She thought she could step into my backyard and walk away clean. But she forgot the oldest rule in the book. You don't mess with a man and his dog, especially not in his yard. But Karen wasn't finished. She wanted the last word. What she got was the neighborhood's final vote. You'd think that after being cited by the police, caught on camera trespassing, and aimed by her own flyers being turned into neighborhood memes, Karen would finally back off. But no, this Karen we're talking about, instead of crawling back into the void of self-righteousness she came from, she doubled down with one last attempt to take control of the neighborhood and get rid of my dog for good. Roughly a week after her trespassing disaster, I received a formal-looking envelope in my mailbox. No return address, but the bold header said, Neighborhood Covenant Proposal, Petition to Reinstate Homer's Oversight. Inside was a typed letter explaining how our community had slipped into disarray due to lack of proper rules and enforcement. The solution? Reinstating a formal HA with Karen listed as the acting president. She wasn't even subtle about it. She also included proposed regulations, which were mostly about lawn height, fence paint color, and on dogs over 30 pounds. Guess is 95? Diesel. Now, unbeknownst to Karen, several of us had already formed a quiet neighborhood group chat after she started tipping her flyers to everyone's doors like some wannabe dictator. That chat lit up the moment her petition hit our mailboxes. One neighbor, Sarah, wrote, she thinks she can start an HOA vote? I'm not paying her a dime. Another posted a photo of the dog ban section and said, this is so obviously about Diesel. This lady needs help. And then came Mike, retired Marine, 2 houses down, proud owner of a very loud beagle named Turbo. I've had enough. Let's settle this. Mike offered to host a neighborhood meeting in his backyard. We spread the word, not official, no pressure, just come by and hear everyone out. 30 peeps showed up. And Diesel came too, on leash, calm as ever, tail wagging, soaking up the attention. Every single person who had seen Karen's flyers was now seen opposite in real life. Gentle, obedient, loyal dog who only barked when necessary, and only trespassed. I talked to stills. Josh stamp of Karen Oldmarket. I hand copies of police citation. Karen to come. We better believe watched behind her blinds like the little angry as Brockwell. We decided if Karen wanted to play the petition game, 2 could play it better. Instead of a petition to form an HOA, we created a neighborhood letter of confidence in Karen's oversight and asked for voluntary signatures supporting the idea that she, it did not represent our community, had harassed multiple residents. He attempted to remove a dog based on personal bias and trespassed onto private property. 37 households signed. That was nearly 90% of the street. We emailed a copy to the city's neighborhood affairs office just to log it. We also made sure to hand deliver a copy to Karen's mailbox and tape one to her door. Petty? A little. Satisfying? Extremely. Now here's where it all exploded. The very next day, Karen stood outside in her driveway with a megaphone. A real megaphone. She ranted about lawlessness, untrained animals, and how we were allowing chaos to reign. People started filming her. I even saw Mike sipping a beer on his porch while Turbo howled in harmony. It was beautiful. By the end of the week, Karen put her house up for sale. The day the moving truck arrived, Diesel and I sat on the back patio, quietly observing. No barking. No fuss. Just peaceful silence. Karen avoided eye contact as the movers loaded her boxes. One of them walked past the fence, glanced at Diesel and said, "You the guy with the dog?" "That's me." She told us to stay away from the fence. Said your dog bites. Diesel yawned and rolled onto his back. "Yeah," I replied. "He's a real monster." As the truck pulled away, I couldn't help but smile. The neighborhood had spoken. Truth had won. And Diesel? He never had to lift a paw. Karen wanted control. She tried flyers, fake rules, and even trespassing. But all it took was one quiet dog, a camera, and a few good neighbors to show her the door. Some fences are there to keep dogs in. Others? To keep Karens out.